They didn't whisper it. They didn't pull me aside. They said it out loud right there in front of everyone. Those seats aren't for people like you. Move. And in that moment, standing in the aisle of a first-class cabin, I realized this wasn't just about an airplane seat. It was about a lifetime of being told where I supposedly belonged. My name's Daniel Carter, and this is the story of the day someone tried to erase me in public, and how everything flipped when they least expected it. It started like any other trip. JFK Terminal 7, early afternoon. I was flying to London for the first time in my life. First class, something I never imagined growing up. I didn't come from money. I came from a 2-bedroom apartment, a single mom who worked nights, and a constant background noise of people telling me to be realistic. So yeah, when I booked that ticket, I wore what felt comfortable. A clean hoodie, dark jeans, sneakers. I actually liked. Not flashy, not sloppy, just me. I boarded early, found seat 2A window. Plenty of legroom, and just sat there breathing it in. That quiet hum of the plane, the soft lighting, the feeling of having made it somewhere I was never supposed to be. You know what I mean? That's when she walked in. Tall, perfectly styled designer sunglasses still on indoors. Her name, I'd learn later, was Evelyn Hart. Late 40s, maybe confident in that way people get when the world has rarely told them no. She stopped when she saw me sitting there. At first, I thought she was just checking her seat number. She wasn't. She leaned toward the flight attendant and said loud enough for half the cabin to hear, "There's a mistake. He's in my seat." The attendant checked the manifest. "Sir is assigned to 2A, ma'am. You're in 3C. Evelyn laughed, not a friendly laugh, more like disbelief wrapped in judgment. No. I always sit up front. I paid for priority." She looked at me again, really looked this time, then added, "He must have been upgraded by accident." That word, accident, hit harder than it should have. I stayed calm. I've learned that calm scares people like that more than anger ever could. I smiled slightly and said, "This is my seat. I paid for it." Her eyes narrowed. "Sweetheart, I've been flying first class longer than you've been alive. Let's not make this difficult." The flight attendant hesitated. And that hesitation. That's where the real damage starts. Another attendant came over, younger, nervous. They asked to see my boarding pass again, then my ID, then asked how I booked the ticket. I could feel the cabin watching, pretending not to. Evelyn crossed her arms. "I'm not trying to be rude," she said already, being exactly that, but first class has a certain standard. I asked, "And what standard is that?" She didn't answer directly. She never had to. She leaned closer and lowered her voice, not enough. "Some people just aren't used to this environment. It can be overwhelming." I wanted to laugh. Instead, I felt that familiar burn in my chest. The one that says no matter how far you go, someone will always try to pull you back. I told them again clearly, "I'm not moving." That's when she said it. "Then I'll have you removed." Removed. Like luggage, like a problem. Phones started coming out. A guy across the aisle shook his head. A woman 2 rows back whispered, "That's messed up." But no one stepped in yet. The crew started discussing options. Options that somehow only involved me giving something up. Evelyn called someone. Loudly. "Yes, this is Evelyn Hart. I'm on flight 982. There's an issue with my seating and the crew is being very unhelpful." She smirked at me while she talked, like this was already over. I sat back and did something I rarely do. I made a call too. I didn't announce it. I didn't threaten. I just dialed and said, "Hey, Uncle Ray, quick question. Who owns Atlas Skies Airlines again?" There was a pause, then laughter. "Technically, I do. Why?" Evelyn was still talking, promising lawsuits, dropping names she thought mattered. I put my phone on speaker. "Hey, Uncle Ray," I said calmly. "I'm being told I don't belong in the seat I paid for on your airline." Silence. Heavy silence. Then his voice changed. "Who's telling you that?" I gestured lightly toward Evelyn. "A passenger. And some of the crew." You could feel it before anything happened. That shift. Like gravity changed direction. The senior attendant's phone rang. His face drained of color as he listened. He nodded, swallowed hard, and hung up. He turned to Evelyn. "Ma'am, we need to speak privately." She waved him off. "There's nothing private about this. I want him moved now." Instead, he looked at me. Sir, please remain seated. Evelyn's smile faltered. A minute later, a voice came over the intercom. Not the captain. Someone else. Good afternoon, passengers. This is Raymond Carter, CEO of Atlas Skies. I want to apologize for a situation unfolding on this aircraft. Every head turned. Evelyn froze. My nephew is seated in first class today, he continued, and he is being harassed because someone decided he didn't look like he belonged there. That's unacceptable. You could have heard a pin drop. Evelyn stammered, I didn't know he was related to you. Ray's voice was ice cold. That's the point. It shouldn't matter. The crew members who enabled it were relieved of duty. On the spot, Evelyn's status was revoked. She was reassigned to economy. She protested, threatened, claimed discrimination herself. No one listened. As she walked past me, she wouldn't meet my eyes. I stayed in my seat the entire time. Same posture, same calm. Because the real victory wasn't watching her fall. It was realizing I never needed her approval to belong. The plane took off late. People clapped quietly. A stranger leaned over and said, I'm glad you didn't move. So am I. Here's the thing. That day wasn't about revenge, it was about exposure. About how quickly polite concern turns into exclusion. About how often people confuse comfort with superiority. I didn't win because of who my uncle was. That just sped things up. I won because I refused to shrink. Because I didn't apologize for existing in a space I earned. And somewhere out there, someone is being told right now they don't belong. In a job, in a classroom, in a room they fought hard to enter. So let me ask you this. If you were on that plane, what would you have done? Would you have spoken up? Stayed silent, taken the seat anyway? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Argue with each other if you need to. These conversations matter. And if you've ever been underestimated, judged, or quietly pushed aside, hit that like button. Subscribe if you want more stories like this. Because belonging isn't granted by people like Evelyn Hart, it's claimed.